There comes a time in every believer's life when they must learn the hard truth that not everyone can walk with them where God is taking them. You can love people with all your heart, pray for them, guide them, forgive them, and still, they won't change. You can pour your time, your energy, your words, and your compassion into their lives, but if their heart is not ready to receive transformation, your effort becomes an endless cycle of disappointment. You see, change is not something you can force into someone's spirit. It's something they must desire deep within themselves. And when you keep trying to fix people who have no desire to grow, you end up empty, drained, and distracted from your own purpose. God never called you to be the savior of the world. He already sent one. He called you to walk in your own purpose, to shine your light, to plant seeds, but not to chase the soil that refuses to open. Sometimes we think our patience will melt their stubbornness, that our consistency will awaken their conscience, or that our love will inspire their change. But the truth is, some people have built walls so high that only God Himself can bring them down. When you keep pushing, when you keep investing your heart into people who reject growth, you begin to lose sight of who you are. You begin to shrink just to keep the peace. You silence your convictions to avoid conflict. You carry weights that were never yours to bear. And little by little, the fire that once burned bright inside you starts to dim. That's why the Bible reminds us to guard our hearts, for from it flow the issues of life. Your energy, your focus, your faith. These are sacred resources. You can't waste them trying to drag someone out of darkness when they've made peace with living there. It doesn't mean you stop loving them. Love doesn't always mean involvement. Sometimes love is prayer from a distance. Sometimes love is releasing them so God can deal with them in His own timing. Sometimes love is saying, I'm here if you ever want to grow, but I can't sit in this same place with you anymore. You see, even Jesus Himself didn't waste His energy where hearts were closed. There were towns where He performed no miracles because of their unbelief. He didn't argue. He didn't beg. He didn't chase validation. He simply moved on to where faith was alive. And that's the same wisdom you need to walk in. You have to discern when your presence has become unproductive, when your words have turned into noise, when your help has become a crutch that keeps someone comfortable in their dysfunction. Some people will drain you and call it loyalty. They'll depend on you to solve their chaos while making no effort to change it. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing that being a good Christian means tolerating endless cycles of disrespect, drama, and negativity. But God never asked you to destroy your peace for the sake of proving your kindness. You can be loving and still set boundaries. You can be merciful and still say no. You can walk in grace without walking into exhaustion, because every ounce of energy you waste trying to fix people who refuse to grow is energy stolen from the purpose God placed inside you. You can't climb higher if you keep carrying those who don't want to move. There are people who will only love you as long as you're convenient. The moment you stop feeding their comfort, they'll call you selfish. The moment you stop agreeing with their foolishness, they'll label you proud. But don't let that guilt trap you. When you walk away from draining people, you're not abandoning them. You're trusting God with them, because sometimes God can't reach them until you step out of the way. As long as you keep rescuing them, they'll never face the consequences that could change their heart. You're not their answer. God is. You're not their deliverer. God is. And the moment you stop trying to be what only God can be, you free yourself to grow again. Many people lose their peace because they confuse compassion with responsibility. You can care without carrying. You can encourage without enabling. You can love without losing yourself. Remember, energy is not infinite. Every word you speak, every emotion you give, every hour you spend is a piece of your life you'll never get back. And if you keep giving it to people who have no intention of valuing it, you'll wake up one day wondering why your spirit feels so tired. Your peace is too expensive to be wasted on constant arguments. Your joy is too precious to be drained by people who only bring negativity. Your time is too valuable to be trapped in relationships that have stopped producing growth. Sometimes, the most spiritual thing you can do is walk away in silence, and let God do what only He can do. You have to understand that purpose requires energy. Destiny demands focus. The enemy knows he can't destroy your calling, so he tries to distract you with people who refuse to change. He'll send relationships that keep you emotionally stuck. He'll send drama that keeps you mentally exhausted. And before you know it, you're so busy trying to fix others that you neglect your own soul. That's why you need spiritual discipline to say, "This isn't my battle. I've done my part. Now it's in God's hands." You have to learn the power of letting go, because the same God who can heal them is the same God who can restore you once you stop fighting battles that were never yours. It's okay to be misunderstood when you decide to protect your peace. It's okay to disappoint people who thrive on your energy, but never pour anything back into you. It's okay to move forward even if they call you cold. You don't owe anyone access to your spirit just because they're comfortable draining it. You owe God your obedience. And sometimes obedience means walking away. When you do, you'll notice something powerful. Your mind clears, your strength returns, and your focus sharpens. Suddenly, you can hear God's voice again, because you're no longer surrounded by noise. That's when He begins to reveal the next chapter of your life, the one you couldn't step into while you were busy fixing what was never your assignment. So stop wasting your energy trying to change hearts that only God can reach. Stop pouring yourself into relationships that only take but never give. Stop confusing endurance with purpose. Love them, pray for them, but let them go. Your energy was meant to build, not to beg. It was meant to plant, not to plead. It was meant to move mountains, not to carry dead weight. The sooner you understand that, the freer you'll be. Let go of those who won't grow. Step into the peace that comes with trusting God to handle what you can't. Because when you stop wasting your energy on people who refuse to change, you finally have enough left to become everything God created you to be. There's a reason God placed your eyes in the front of your head and not behind it. Because life was never meant to be lived backward. Yet so many people are trapped in yesterday, wasting their energy on what they cannot undo. They replay old conversations, relive old mistakes, and rehearse old pain, thinking that somehow if they revisit it enough times, it'll finally make sense or hurt less. But it never does. The more you stare at the past, the more power it gains over your present. Every moment you spend clinging to what was is a moment stolen from what could be. You can't drive forward while staring in the rearview mirror. At some point, you have to stop revisiting what God already redeemed and start walking into the future He has prepared for you. The past has a way of chaining you through memory. It whispers in your ear, "You failed there, you fell there, you embarrassed yourself there." It drags you back to the moment you wish you could change, the word you wish you hadn't said, the door you wish you hadn't opened. But the truth is, no one moves forward by looking backward. You can't rewrite the chapter that's already been printed. What you can do is pick up the pen and start a new one. The enemy loves to use guilt and regret as weapons because he knows he can keep you busy fighting old battles. You'll never have the strength to face new ones. But when you truly believe that God's grace covers even your worst mistakes, you begin to reclaim your energy. You stop letting shame narrate your story and start letting grace write the rest of it. Some people live like prisoners of their own memories. They sit in the cell of what if and if only. They hold on to what they lost, who left, or what broke. But the prison door has been open the whole time. They just haven't walked out. God never meant for your past to define you. It was meant to refine you. Every scar, every failure, every heartbreak was not sent to destroy you, but to teach you. When you see it through the eyes of faith, even your pain becomes part of your preparation. The very moments you wish you could erase are often the ones that built the strength you need now. That's why Paul said, "Forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forth unto those things which are before." He understood that forward focus is not denial, it's discipline. It's choosing not to let yesterday rob you of today. Holding on to the past is exhausting. You lose sleep over things that no longer exist. You drain your spirit trying to understand people who hurt you when understanding them won't heal you. You revisit situations that God already delivered you from. You waste your energy fighting ghosts, memories that no longer have power unless you feed them. The past has no fuel of its own. It runs on your attention. Every time you dwell on it, you're giving it life again. But when you turn your focus toward God's promises instead of your past pain, you starve what once consumed you. You free up your spirit to dream again, to hope again, to live again. It's not easy to let go, especially when the past feels unfinished. Sometimes closure never comes. The apology you wanted never arrives. The explanation you hoped for never makes it to your ears. And that's okay. You don't need closure to heal. You need surrender. You need to trust that God saw what you didn't, heard what you couldn't, and knew what you didn't understand. Sometimes He lets certain things end without warning because He knew if you had the answers, you'd stay longer than you should. And He loves you too much to let your destiny die in a place you've outgrown. That's why faith isn't just believing God can do new things. It's also believing He can make something beautiful out of what's been broken. Regret is one of the biggest thieves of divine energy. It steals your joy and clouds your vision. You start questioning your worth because of what happened to you, instead of remembering who lives in you. You think your failure disqualified you, but God says it prepared you. You think your past broke you, but God says it built you. You think you're behind, but God says you're right on time. Every step, even the wrong ones, brought you to this moment. You're wiser now, stronger now, more grounded in faith now. You survived what was meant to destroy you, and that means God isn't done with you yet. You can't go back and fix what happened, but you can move forward and make it mean something. When you waste energy on the past, you create space for bitterness to grow. You start blaming others, holding grudges, or resenting yourself. But the more you carry bitterness, the heavier your soul becomes. Forgiveness isn't about letting others off the hook. It's about setting yourself free. You can't fly toward your purpose while carrying the weight of resentment. You have to release it. When you forgive, you cut the rope that ties you to your pain. You rise higher because you're no longer anchored to what hurt you. Forgive the people who never apologized. Forgive yourself for the choices you made in confusion or fear. Forgive the past and let it rest. Every time you do, your spirit gets lighter and your path gets clearer. God didn't give you life to keep you replaying the same scene over and over. He gave you life so you could grow, evolve, and shine. The past may explain you, but it does not define you. It may have shaped your character, but it doesn't control your future. The hands of God are not bound by your history. He specializes in new beginnings. He said, "Behold, I am doing a new thing." That means no matter what happened before, something new can be born out of it. But you have to make room. You can't carry yesterday's pain and expect to embrace tomorrow's blessing. You have to let go of what was so you can receive what's next. You are not the same person you were when you made those mistakes. You've learned. You've matured. You've been humbled. And that's the beauty of grace. It meets you where you are, not where you were. So stop wasting your energy trying to prove something to the version of yourself that no longer exists. Stop trying to make peace with every chapter. Some chapters were just meant to end. Your job isn't to fix the past. It's to honor the lesson, thank God for the growth, and walk forward in faith. You have too much purpose ahead of you to keep staring at what's behind you. So today, release the grip of yesterday. Stop letting your memories rob your strength. Stop trying to figure out what God already finished. The past is a teacher, not a destination. Let it teach you, then move on. There's a reason your windshield is bigger than your rearview mirror, because what's ahead of you is far greater than what's behind you. Every sunrise is a reminder that grace resets the story. Don't waste another ounce of your energy reliving what God has already forgiven. Lift your head, open your heart, and walk forward. Because when you stop wasting energy on the past, you make room for the miracles waiting in your future. There are moments in life when no matter how hard you try, things still fall apart. You plan carefully, you pray faithfully, you do your best to hold everything together. But life still finds a way to throw you off balance. And the first instinct for most of us is to tighten our grip, to fight harder, to control every detail, as if our strength alone could bend the universe into our will. But the truth is, there are things you simply cannot control. People, outcomes, timing, storms, and seasons. The more you try to control what was never yours to manage, the more anxious, frustrated, and spiritually exhausted you become. The peace that God promised you starts to slip away because you're too busy trying to sit in His chair. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that God can handle what you can't. It's understanding that His hands are safer than yours. Life teaches you that control is an illusion. You can't control how others treat you, what they say about you, or whether they appreciate your efforts. You can't control when the storm hits or how long it stays. You can't even control the thoughts that come into your mind sometimes, but you can control what you do with them. The enemy knows that if he can't destroy you, he'll distract you with worry. He'll convince you that if you don't manage every detail, everything will collapse. But God didn't call you to micromanage His plans. He called you to trust Him through them. Worry is wasted worship. Every time you replay what could go wrong, you rob yourself of the peace that could have carried you through. There's freedom in saying, Lord, I've done my part, the rest is yours. Because once you truly release it to Him, you begin to breathe again. Sometimes, what hurts the most is realizing that no amount of effort can fix what's broken. You can't change someone's heart. You can't force opportunities to open. You can't hurry God's timing. And yet, that helpless feeling is often the beginning of divine strength, because when you reach the end of yourself, you finally meet the beginning of God. You start to see that He was never asking for your control. He was asking for your trust. Faith is not knowing every step. It's believing that even when the path is hidden, the shepherd still knows the way. You may not see the reason right now, but there's purpose in your delay. There's beauty in the waiting, even if it feels like silence. Because while you're waiting, God is working behind the scenes in ways you couldn't imagine. His plans are not delayed, they're developing. When you waste your energy trying to control what you can't, you close your hands around the problem so tightly that God can't fill them with the solution. Control is rooted in fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. But perfect love casts out fear. When you trust that God loves you, truly loves you, you start to rest in His process. You stop demanding explanations and start living in expectation. You start to understand that even rejection is protection, even delay is direction. The door that didn't open wasn't a punishment, it was a redirection. The relationship that ended wasn't a curse. It was God removing what couldn't go with you to the next level. The job you lost wasn't destruction, it was preparation for something greater. You see, when you stop trying to control outcomes, you allow God to surprise you with something better than what you planned. Peace doesn't come from having everything under control. It comes from trusting the one who is in control. That's why Jesus said, "Do not worry about tomorrow." He wasn't dismissing your responsibilities. He was freeing your heart from the burden of carrying what only God can carry. You can plan, you can prepare, but at the end of the day, the results are not in your hands. And that's good news, because if it were up to you, life would crumble under the weight of your limitations. But in God's hands, even your mistakes can become miracles. That's why surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the moment you say, "Lord, I can't, but you can." And in that moment, heaven moves. The same God who calmed the storm with a word can calm the chaos in your heart when you stop trying to steer the boat yourself. You may not understand why things are happening the way they are right now. You may feel like you're losing control, like the situation is slipping through your fingers. But sometimes that's exactly where God needs you. On your knees, not your feet. Because as long as you think you're strong enough to control it, you won't rely on His strength. He'll let you reach the end of your rope so that you can finally grab hold of His. When everything around you feels uncertain, that's when faith becomes real. It's easy to say you trust God when life makes sense. The real test comes when nothing makes sense, when prayers seem unanswered and doors stay closed. But faith whispers, even now He's still working. Even now, he's still good. Stop wasting your energy trying to fix what God is asking you to release. You can't control people's choices, but you can control your response. You can choose peace instead of panic. You can choose faith instead of fear. You can choose prayer instead of pressure. Every time you surrender a worry to God, you reclaim the energy that was once being drained by anxiety. The more you release, the lighter you become, and soon, you'll discover that the peace of God truly surpasses all understanding, not because your circumstances changed, but because your heart did. You finally realized that control was never the goal, trust was. Think about the story of Peter walking on water. As long as he kept his eyes on Jesus, he walked above the waves. The moment he looked at the storm, he began to sink. That's the danger of focusing on what you can't control. The waves will always rise, the winds will always howl. But if you fix your gaze on God, you'll rise above the chaos. Peace doesn't mean the absence of the storm. It means the presence of Christ in the storm. When you understand that, you stop wasting your energy fighting for control and start using it to strengthen your faith. Because faith, not control, is what moves mountains. So take a deep breath. Let go of what's beyond you. Stop replaying every scenario in your mind. Stop trying to fix people who don't want to change or outcomes that were never yours to command. Do your best, then rest in the assurance that God will do the rest. When you finally stop wasting your energy on things you can't control, you'll realize how much strength, peace, and clarity you actually have. You'll have energy for what matters: your purpose, your calling, your growth, your relationship with God. Because you were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. That's His job. Yours is to trust Him, walk in faith, and keep moving forward. And when you do, you'll find a peace so deep, so steady, so unshakable, that no storm will ever steal it again. At the end of it all, life becomes clearer when you finally understand where your energy truly belongs. You can't pour yourself into people who refuse to change. You can't keep reliving a past that God already forgave, and you can't spend your strength trying to control what only He can handle. Your energy is a divine gift. It's the breath of God within you, meant to build, to create, to inspire, to love, and to walk in purpose. When you waste it on things that drain you instead of grow you, you miss out on the joy and peace that come from walking in alignment with God's will. So protect your spirit, guard your peace, know when to let go and when to hold on. You were never called to fight every battle, fix every heart, or understand every situation. You were called to trust, to believe, to obey, and to keep moving forward in faith. When you learn to stop wasting energy where it doesn't belong, you'll notice something powerful. Your mind gets calmer, your faith grows stronger, and your path becomes clearer. You'll see how much more you can accomplish when your heart is no longer divided between what could have been and what you can't control. God didn't create you to live tired and heavy. He created you to live light, free, and full of peace. So take a deep breath and make a decision today. No more wasted energy. No more chasing after people who won't grow. No more looking back at doors that have closed. And no more trying to play God in situations you can't fix. From this day forward, focus your strength where it matters, on your growth, your purpose, and your walk with Him. Because when you give your energy to the right places, you'll not only find peace, you'll find yourself walking in the fullness of everything God promised you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for opening your heart and allowing these words to find a place in your spirit. May God bless you with the wisdom to know where to invest your energy, the strength to let go of what drains you, and the courage to walk boldly toward the life He has prepared for you. Keep your faith strong, keep your focus pure, and never forget, when you give your energy to God, He will always multiply it back in peace, joy, and purpose.